You will be rejected. You must be willing to be rejected. The great gains in life come from doing uncommon things that are hard to do. If you wait for consensus, you will never create anything great. You know, when I got into online business for the first time in my teenage years and started to become serious about building an agency, leaving school, and going on that whole entrepreneurial journey into Facebook ads and marketing, it wasn't a cool thing to do. For the most part, it wasn't something that was widely accepted, let alone understood. And there was so much judgment. I even remember when I moved from doing just local lead generation to working in the education space and with coaches and all of that. The judgment was undeniable from people that were really close to me. But it was the fact that I was able to see past the judgment of others, to be willing to not be liked, to not be accepted, to sit in this space of being grossly misunderstood and judged is what has allowed me to really reap the benefits and the reward then in that moment, but all of the years later. And it's this idea that if you wait for consensus, if you wait for it to be common knowledge, to be commonly accepted, whatever idea it is that you have, it will be too late because you get paid for betting against the market, for betting against consensus. And for me, it's why groups of people are so dangerous. They say, I think it's Carl Jung, that insanity is very rare in an individual, but it's the default inside of crowds. And, you know, crowds or groups of people require consensus in order to survive. A group relies on agreement for everyone to be on the same page, have similar values, similar beliefs, and to not really step too far out of that, because if they do, it fractures the group. Some agree, some don't, and then you end up like the Christian church with 40,000 different denominations, all these different little sects, because the more independent the thinking, the smaller the group becomes. Um, I think about this a lot in regards to just living and online business and global living. In particular, you take a place like Bali, which back in the day was a place for pioneers, for people with different ideas who wanted to live a different way, and they want somewhere that was a very uncommon place to live. But you take that place now, and it's while it's set up, it's a digital nomad's dream in a lot of ways. Not mine, but you think about it, it's a great place for online entrepreneurs to be, but it's dangerous because you're going into an environment where everybody is kind of molding into the same thing. Their content looks the same, their belief and value systems are the same, and in order to survive in that environment, or just by default, you get molded into this sameness. And if I can see on Instagram if someone's lives in Bali, it's very obvious in so much of the way that they are. It's not to shit on Bali, it's just to show you that groups in certain places create a similarity, which is beautiful and fine, unless you want to create something great. Because in order to do something great, you need to step outside of consensus. You need to step outside of beliefs that are common. And you need to be willing to be judged, rejected. It's an undeniable part of change, of bringing change, of wanting to create change. The whole idea of change is that you'll be rejected more often than you're received. A lot of people say they want to change the world, but they don't dare step outside the lines of their little subculture or industry, or the environment in which they live, where they get affirmations and encouraged for being a particular way, unconsciously. And To be the master, to be the visionary, you must first be the fool. And I look at my life as so much of the success or any gains that I've had in business or just life in general has been my willingness to look like a fool time and time again and to just not give a fuck, or to maybe give a fuck but not let it allow me to change course, depending on the reactions of others. A great example of this, I'll put a photo up of when I was maybe between the ages of 16 and like 19. It was a good 3 or 4 years. I had the most ridiculous haircut, but I loved it. And for me, it was this sign of independence. It was yeah, as a symbol of my own authority, that I didn't give a fuck how people perceive me because of this haircut, how ridiculous or unattractive it may have looked to some people. It was not understood. But for me, it was such an important time in my life. I think looking back, it makes sense looking back, anyways. They say the dots are connected looking backwards. That it was this incredible time in my life where I just was able to stand on my own and not need the validation of others, and to be able to be judged and rejected, not accepted by the majority, and find comfort in that and enjoy that. And I think that's what so much of the entrepreneurial journey is about having the courage to go against consensus, having the courage to stray away from the herd. You look at all the great entrepreneurs, the explorers of centuries past, they had the courage to go to the frontier, to go into the unknown, to go where nobody else wished or wanted to go or even believe existed. They had the courage to go there. And I think that is such the opportunity that's available right now for so many of us, is to truly create something new. And the first step is to accept the fact that you will be rejected. And that is the very thing that you're getting paid for, to go and to bet against the market. That's where the gains are. And, if you're looking what you want to create with your life, the way that you want to live, the way that you want to express yourself, the thing that you want to bring forth and create. If it's truly yours, you will not be understood by the masses, by the common man. And that's exactly what makes it worth pursuing.